Hey everyone, this is Patrick and I'm giving you my thoughts on the upcoming card this weekend, UFC Fight Night 122, Kelvin Gastelum versus Michael Bisping. So Michael Bisping is coming off a tough loss against GSP. The story of that fight was, although both GSP and Michael Bisping have great jabs, it was the versatility and the many setups off of GSP's jab that beat Michael Bisping, with the end of the fight coming with GSP level changing, Bisping thinking GSP was going for a takedown and dropping his hands, and GSP coming up with a left hook and finishing it off with a rear naked choke. The worrying thing about this fight is that Michael Bisping is fighting so close to UFC 217, and it's kind of worrying that the UFC would let a fighter who basically got knocked out in their last fight another opponent in just 3 weeks. I've broken down Michael Bisping before. A common thing with Michael is that he loves to feint and fake and has a jab that's very non-committal, which means that he doesn't always throw his jab full force. It's a jab that's always touching his opponent's face or looks like it's coming out, so they start reacting and dulling their senses until the real jab comes out. Michael will throw like 3 or 4 fake jabs just to land one real one. Bisping also loves the safety lead jab, which is a jab while stepping up to your left. It takes you offline of your opponent's jab and lines up your right straight very nicely. One problem with Michael Bisping is that while he loves the safety lead, he doesn't always do it with the crispest form, where you should always have your shoulder up, chin tucked, and head slightly offline to the right. Michael can leave his head high and shoulder down from time to time, which is why you see him get clipped by right hands a lot, even from old timers like Dan Henderson. Michael is also a fighter that loves to work the pace on fighters. He's always working and making his opponents move or react to feints. Kelvin Gastelum is actually a fighter that has many similarities with Michael Bisping. Kelvin fights from a southpaw stance and is all about that classic 1-2 combo. His southpaw jab is really nice and crisp, and much like Bisping, he's always feinting and faking his attacks so his opponents start reacting to the wrong things or not reacting at all. As always, in an orthodox versus southpaw matchup, it's always the rear hand that is going to be the money punch, and Kelvin does a great job of sliding the left straight down the center against his right-handed opponents. Kelvin is also a fighter that relies tremendously on pace. He's always creating exchanges and making sure his opponents are never getting a break. Kelvin is also pretty undersized for the middleweight division. What has been getting him by in a lot of his fights at middleweight was his pacing, but we saw that size does matter in his last fight against Chris Weidman, who is a pretty big middleweight and won by just taking Kelvin down constantly and smothering him until he got the late submission. Both these fighters like to use their lead hand, both these fighters love to fake and feint, and both these fighters love to make their opponents work. Both fighters like to work in 1-2s, however, I feel like Kelvin has the better rear hand straight. Bisping has also never been good at cutting the cage, which is going to be a problem in this fight since Kelvin has always been the type of fighter to leap backwards away from his opponents and then leap back in, and Michael has always had trouble with chasing down opponents. In his first fight with Luke Rockhold would leap back in a straight line and Bisping would always fall short because he has very little weapons besides the 1-2. In this case, since it is a southpaw versus orthodox matchup, Kelvin does have the faster, cleaner right hand. He's also a younger man and he hasn't just fought in 3 weeks and suffered a concussion. It'll be interesting to see how Michael performs in this fight. He's really old and it feels like he's near the end of the road, while Kelvin is the young up-and-comer who's been beating a lot of top middleweights even though he's undersized. I feel like Kelvin is going to pick up the decision against Michael Bisping, and this will be another step toward Michael retiring. So that was my preview for the upcoming bout. Like this video if you enjoyed the breakdown, leave a comment down below on your thoughts of the fight and who do you think is going to win, and make sure you subscribe to the channel. See you after the fight.